Today I want to talk to you guys about how I first started playing Airsoft, because when I got involved in this hobby about a decade ago, the entire landscape of the industry was different here in the US. The guns were really bad, and they cost more than they do today, and at the same time, a lot of really weird things that you think about today and that we kind of take for granted just didn't exist yet. Like, for example, Airsoft and YouTube hadn't really started when I got involved in this hobby. So in today's video, I want to talk to you guys about how I got into Airsoft, but as well talk about the mistakes I made along the way to make sure that you guys don't make the same ones that I did. What's up, Airsofters? My name is Lane, and welcome back to the BB Warrior. We're here to help you have a better time both on and off the airsoft field through our educational content. And if you enjoy videos like these, we'd love it if you joined our community by hitting that subscribe button down below, and while you're at it, make sure to hit that bell icon next to it for updates when we post brand new videos every single Friday. So my story in Airsoft begins in about 2008 or 2009, to very humble beginnings. I remember coming home one day, and my friends from school were home as well, and they came over and they're like, "Hey man, look what we got at the farmer's market." And lo and behold, they opened the box and they revealed a tiny little $5 spring airsoft pistol. So, being boys, the first thing that we thought to do with these, because I bought a couple of them, hey, let's shoot each other with them. So that's really how I played my first Airsoft game. My first Airsoft game was playing in my friend's backyard, and I remember they had one of those blue inflatable pools, and that was the only piece of cover, so it was 3, 2, 1, go, and then we all sprinted for it and laid behind it and tried shooting each other with these single-shot spring pistols. I mean, such good memories, but there's always a bad side to this sort of thing. We didn't really know about Airsoft. We didn't know about Airsoft safety yet. And I think you guys can guess where this is going. No teeth protection, no face protection, sunglasses for eye protection, which it's a good thing none of us ever got shot in the eye pro, because they would probably shatter and destroy our vision. But yeah, those very unsafe conditions are how we started playing Airsoft. And my neighbors had a bunch of woods behind their house, and no one ever went through there. There was no hiking or anything like that. So we began playing Airsoft out there. We began, building bunkers and, collecting up piles of branches and things like that to use as cover. We had a little field going, and we figured out that hey, they sell airsoft guns at the local sporting goods store. So we'd go down there, and I remember I got a low power AEG. It was a see-through G3 type rifle. It was weird because it wasn't a G3, it wasn't an HK33, but it wasn't an MP5. It was somewhere in the middle between all of those. It was really weird. I wish I still had it to show you guys, but something that I find funny looking back on it is that it came bundled with a DVD. It was a documentary type thing on stunt actors and stunt doubles. I thought that was the funniest thing looking back on it. So yeah, we got more and more into Airsoft, and we started playing it, and this was really when I figured out that how the internet works and that type of thing. So I'm searching for Airsoft online, and I found out that hey, this hobby exists outside of our local sporting goods store, outside of that probably creepy guy that sells these at the farmer's market. So I really started to dive into Airsoft and see what else was out there, and I found online retailers, and I saved up my pennies from allowance and whatnot, and I bought my first serious Airsoft gun. It was something that the retailer was pushing really, really hard. It was I think it was an Echo 1 M28. I could be wrong about that, but I remember it being Echo 1, a rebrand of the UK Arms. And, I was super excited to get it because the retailer was pumping me up. They're like, yeah, man, this, you're going to be so badass and get all these kills and whatnot. And it was, it did not end up like that at all. Keep in mind, I was 11, 10 to 12 years old at this point. So I got this gun, and, I was putting maybe the heaviest BB I put in this thing was .2s. So they were probably just shattering as soon as I left the barrel. It was very hard to pull the bolt back at that age. I remember having to slam the barrel into the ground, having to force to pull the bolt back. It was pretty cringy looking back on it, in all honesty. But yeah, we played in the woods and we continued to go, and everyone was kind of scared of it because it's a sniper rifle, it shoots really hot, really hurt to get hit by. And then one of my neighbors got a JG G3. And she destroyed us for a very long amount of time, and we just couldn't compete. So I was like, man, that's gonna be me one day. I'm gonna get like this. I'm gonna get a cool airsoft gun like that. I'm gonna get like a good AEG, and I'm gonna be that guy that just wrecks. And everyone in the neighborhood's gonna be so jealous of my airsoft gun. And that's when they started getting out of airsoft, which was a really like sad point for me because I really wanted to get into airsoft, but you know, just no one else around me wanted to play it. They started getting into paintball, so I experimented with that. I think I played paintball a couple of times before that and really didn't like it because I was so young, so getting shot felt like I was going to die. So as they started to get out of airsoft, you know, I continued to get into it. This was back at a time when forums like Airsoft Society were still a thing, so, you know, I'd kind of like lurk on there and try to learn about airsoft as much as I could, but things really just kind of started to sizzle out for me. It was pretty disappointing because I liked this hobby, but my friends were kind of like fading out of it, and I felt like there was nothing that I could do. And then two really important things that got me into that really got me into airsoft happened. I found a team that was not very far from me. They're like 20 minutes from my house, so I joined up on that. And you know, they were kind of scrubby too. They didn't have any great guns. I think the best gun among us was a Cyma AK. But you know, we played airsoft in his backyard and the woods near his house, and I just kind of kept it going. That made things really great for me. That was a team that I was on for a very long amount of time. You know, we hosted our own events, things like that. But the bigger thing that happened that really kept me in airsoft, and really what I credit to this day that made me interested in this hobby in the long run, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. That game has sucked so many hours out of my childhood and gotten me so excited to play airsoft. Like, it is incredible how much time I put on that game as a kid. I remember coming home, being upset that I couldn't play airsoft. Hey, I'm gonna go play Modern Warfare 2 till like 10 o'clock at night, and then go to bed, go to school, and repeat. Like, I was a loser for that game, and I absolutely love it. I still love that game to this day, and now that it's backwards compatible on the Xbox One, I try to play it as much as possible. It's hard to find a lobby because that game's 10 years old at this point. But between that and between the airsoft team that I was on, you know, I could continue to play airsoft. I was interested in getting a better gun. I really didn't like that sniper rifle. It was heavy. I couldn't pull the bolt back pretty well. I was kind of disappointed that I bought it and that the retailer recommended it to me in the first place. So I sold off all my guns to my teammates because they were interested in it, things like that. And I got my first like real AEG. It was one of the only things that I could afford at the time. It was a Javelin Airsoft Gunworks M4. It's like your pretty typical M4, 14.5-inch barrel with the Knights Armament quad rail, your pretty standard like LE law enforcement type stock. Keep in mind, this was like ages before Keymod or M-Lock or Mark 18s existed in airsoft, or in general, honestly. So I got that gun, and you know, I felt like that kid that I wanted to be. I had a great gun at the time. Javelin's pretty bad, in all honesty. I felt like that guy, because everyone else I was going up against had, you know, like Cyma AKs, which are pretty good, I mean, now. But yeah, I felt really cool having that gun. The games got bigger because we had so much land to use. It was a really good time for me, and between that and Modern Warfare 2, my love of airsoft has kind of like continued to grow and grow and grow. Now, shortly after that, airsoft really started to develop here on YouTube, which is, again, one of those big things that I contribute to keeping me in the hobby. I've been watching people like Desert Fox, Airsoftology. I've been watching them since, you know, their channel started because they were, you know, kind of the leaders of YouTube on airsoft. I mean, they still are, but at the time, there wasn't a million sniper channels. Like, sniper gameplay really didn't exist very much at that point because no one really figured out how to get a camera on top of a gun and have it not weigh like 30 pounds. So you had people like Desert Fox who were really pioneering gameplay, Airsoftology with the reviews and the podcast back in the day. There were other people as well that were doing really great things as an industry, don't get me wrong. Those are the two of the people that I still look up to when I make my own content to this day. You had people like Tim from Crytek back when he worked at a different company. He really kind of pioneered making like reviews and loadout videos, and back then it wasn't like independent content creators like myself or the other two examples that I've mentioned. The retailers were kind of the leaders in making video for airsoft back in the day, which was kind of interesting. I think that they've kind of fallen off recently. I mean, they still are a huge powerhouse on YouTube, don't get me wrong, but I think that there wasn't as much choice for quality content back then from independent content creators versus these companies that had a bunch of money for good cameras and things like that. I mean, this was back, I don't even know if GoPro existed back in 2010, which is what most people used to record their gameplay. But yeah, I mean, while Modern Warfare 2 definitely did keep my interest going and keep me really enjoying this hobby, if it wasn't for people like Jet Desert Fox and Airsoftology, I know that I would not be in this, because I would come home, and when, you know, people stopped playing Modern Warfare 2 because different Call of Duty games came out that I really wasn't interested in, you know, I'd watch those instead. And it was pretty cool getting to meet Jet last year because of that reason. I'm not going to lie at all. So yeah, that's really what kind of kept me going through Airsoft. And as time progressed, you know, that team kind of fizzled out. And I started, you know, I had a job, so, you know, I was making money at that point. I upgraded my guns and my gear. And something that I did with that was definitely a huge mistake. I spent way too much money on gear. I was starting to get into like impressions, because again, forums were still a thing. So I was on the Dev Team 6 forum. If you're not familiar with that, they are like a reenactors type forum who mainly focused on naval special warfare kits, but mainly like US and NATO kits in general. Nowadays, they do a little bit more. But yeah, you know, I started spending a ton of money on kit because I wanted to look like a Navy SEAL. That was a huge waste of money. I'm just glad that the gun for that was the HK416 from Elite Force, because that was a really good airsoft gun even back in the day. So I did have a good airsoft gun, but I spent way too much money on nylon products. And as I was like kind of like growing and growing and growing, even taller and taller, you know, it started to not fit me, and that was kind of a bummer. So that's definitely one of the biggest mistakes I've made in airsoft, was spending too much on the gear and that aspect of it all. But that's kind of where I get into the chapter that I'm in right now, and that is the BB Warrior. I started this in 2014, the day after Christmas. I remember for a very long time I wanted to start a YouTube channel. I just didn't know what I wanted to do. I remember I was at this paintball field, which is not far from my house. I don't do airsoft anymore, unfortunately. And one of the airsofters, as an insult, called me a BB Warrior. Like, oh, you talk a lot of shit for being a BB Warrior. And like, I don't know what it was, but I found it hilarious, and it stuck with me. So if you've ever wondered like where the name for this channel came from, that is what it was. And yeah, so that was how I got the name of the BB Warrior. I remember registering the name of the channel in May of 14 because my buddy was joking that he was going to steal it, and I took him seriously for it. So I registered it, and I didn't have the means to make any videos at that point. I got a laptop for Christmas that year, and I remember like I was prepared. Like I was like, man, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. I bought a contour, and I was like recording and then like saving the SD cards. I'm like, eventually I'll have a computer that I can use and things like that. So then, you know, I got my laptop on Christmas, plugged in one of those SD cards, downloaded Windows Movie Maker, and I made my first YouTube video, and it's still up today if you want to go see it. It's a really bad gameplay from the field that I was going to. First kill I ever got on YouTube was me one-handing that 416 and full auto spraying someone, which I thought was hilarious at the time, and I think it's kind of cancerous now. But yeah, you know, the BB Warrior is the chapter that I'm on right now. Things in Airsoft have changed in the last 4 years, don't get me wrong, but my mentality has changed as well. I went from being a gameplay-oriented channel, doing a little bit of review, don't get me wrong. I really focused again on that like naval special warfare type kit review, talking about that, to what we do today, which is discussion and review. And my goal with the content that I create here is to give you a better idea of what you're going to be purchasing, you know, making my own personal recommendations, and making sure that you have a better time when you go on the airsoft field, and that you're a more informed buyer when you go to make purchases on your various airsoft items. As we've talked about a couple of times in the video so far, I have gotten burned by retailers who were trying to sell me things that they were claiming was going to be this new, great gun, and then I get it, and you know, it's pretty subpar. I'll admit part of that was my mistake with the sniper rifle, because I was so young, it was hard to pull back the bolt, but even without that, those sniper rifles back in the day were pretty much hot garbage. But that's why I want to talk about Fox Airsoft, the sponsor of today's video. Guys, I want to talk about Fox because I trust them as a player myself. They're not the type of company that's going to do that. They carry the brands that they personally trust, because Fox is run by airsofters just like you and I. They've been in business since 2006, and I should have went with them for my airsoft guns back in the day. What I really like about them is that they've got a great variety of options as well. So if you're a newer player, if you don't want to spend a lot of money getting into the hobby, they've got their starter kits, which is going to give you everything that you need. So you're going to make sure that you have the proper safety equipment, which was one of the big mistakes that I ran into as a player, simply because I didn't know better, but that's really not a good excuse for you losing your eye or losing a tooth. So they've got their starter kits for that. But if you're a more experienced player like myself, let's say you want to get something a little bit higher end, They've got some great options. They've got Classic Army. They've got ICS, which is really something that you don't see a lot in the US. And you've also got things like the VFC Avalon, the ASG Scorpion Evo. They got a bunch of varieties of that. So they've got great options whether you are a new player or you are a grizzled veteran of the hobby. I would highly recommend Fox Airsoft. They are huge supporters of the channel, and without them, today's video simply would not have been possible. So make sure to check out Fox Airsoft and their monthly giveaway that they do. The information to check out Fox and that giveaway will all be in the description below to where you can check that out. But that is going to do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I just wanted to give you guys a glimpse into how I started playing Airsoft, because really things were just so different back in the day, and I thought that it'd be a pretty interesting comparison. I think that players are really spoiled nowadays, because a like $120 to $150 airsoft gun today would have been easily double that for the same performance way back in my day. We didn't have MOSFETs, we didn't have LiPos yet. It was like the Wild West. It was incredible how little we had in airsoft compared to the advancements that have been made today. But that's going to do it for today's video. Like I said, if you enjoyed today's video and this was your first time here, I would love it if you joined our community by hitting that subscribe button down below for brand new educational airsoft videos every single Friday. Make sure to check me out on social media. But this has been Lane from the BB Warrior, talking about how I got into airsoft and the mistakes that I made, and I will see you all next time.